But the last thing I wanted to say about Mac is just, especially in that no huddle sequence in some of the series that they got into in the second half, you definitely saw a script for Josh McDaniels with Mac Jones, right? You saw the Mac Jones offense sort of come to fruition there. They ran a couple of run pass options. They ran a quick no huddle, high pace, short passing attack. You saw what the vision was a little bit. They did tip their hand, I thought, just a tad of this is what it's going to sort of be like when Mac Jones is the quarterback, and it looks like an offense that he can run pretty well.
Well, so again, in addition to people will always, you're going to analyze the performance and nitpick it. And, we do this at training camp and everyone's charting completions and plays. And this guy was good today. This guy was good today, and back and forth. But reading the tea leaves just into the choices they made today, which was give Cam his series and then let Mac run, and then and have Mac do everything. And again, this has been, I think, clear from day one of training camp. It is clear they are trying to see whether he's ready for this job, and they're throwing every single thing possible at him. And tonight seemed like another case of that, which is go try it, run with the ones, run with the twos, run a no huddle. You're out there, kid, go. And he just did.
Right. And that's, I think, a really good point about the no huddle element of it. I thought was important. And Belichick mentioned after the game, he was asked why no huddle in that situation. He wanted the 2-minute drill before the half. They actually called a timeout before the half, and the defense just couldn't get off the field, and they didn't get it. And so they basically were simulating a 2-minute drill for themselves at the beginning of the third quarter by going no huddle with Mac. And then the other thing that I think was really important was that one series that he got with the starting offensive line, because they could have waited and they could have put Mac Jones in the next series, or they could have just pulled the starting offensive line then and there. But they didn't. He got a series with Trent Brown, Shaq Mason, Ferentz, Onwenu, and Wynn. And I think that was telling. Now, Cam's the starter, right? I mean, Cam was the guy that started tonight. He is the guy that's running with the ones in practice. He's the guy that's running with ones in pregame warmups. He is the starter right now. But when you see it, I mean, when you look at this offense, the Patriots offense comes out when Mac Jones is in the game. And secondly to that, you definitely see them giving him all the opportunities they possibly can to have him run through that door, right? And he's going to have to knock the door open. He's going to have to kick it in, right, if he's going to take the job week one. But you see them giving him that chance, and I'm really fascinated. I'll be out there in Philadelphia early next week. I'm really interested to see in those joint practices how much run Mac gets against the Eagles starting defense next week.
Well, my philosophy is a little different than yours, Evan. I know you'd say he has to win it. Part of me thinks he has to just not lose it. Not to say it's his. He has to look like he's not lost. I think ultimately, if they think he's going to be their starter in week 3 or week 4 or week 5, there's no reason to not make him your starter in week 1. I don't think he's going to get better between week 1 and 4. All you're doing at that point is waiting for Cam Newton to fail, because Mac's not going to impress you in practices during that time. He's not going to get any better. So you're going to know. If he's ready in week 4, he's ready in week 1, because he's probably going to be the same guy. You're really just rolling Cam out there so he fails and waiting for him to fail if Mac is going to be your starter. So my opinion, I believe if they think it's close, it makes sense to just roll the dice with Mac. Unless he's puking all over himself when he gets on the field and looks like the moment's too big for him. But as long as he has nights like this, while unspectacular, if he can run this offense and you can give him the keys and feel okay with it, I don't see how you would go with Cam just because he's the veteran and he was the guy last year. It doesn't seem to make sense based on what it is that they're trying to do, which is run this type of offense where they can do a lot of different things as opposed to the playbook that they're giving Cam on a weekly basis.
Right. And I think the point that I'm making about the Mac is going to have to take the job is that nothing is handed to anybody in New England. Right? You have to earn everything that you get. And right now, I think that what Bill Belichick is doing is he's using Cam as you need to take this job from Cam, right? Whether Bill actually thinks that Cam is the best guy for the job or not, or if Mac is there or not, I think that that's the obstacle he's trying to put in front of Mac to push Mac to see if he can get what he wants out of him. And I don't know. I think there is some elements to, and I've done some research into this in terms of when do first round quarterbacks actually start games in their, when's the sort of that line of time when they finally get into the games. Now, sometimes you have the Patrick Mahomes example, right, where he sits behind Alex Smith for an entire year and doesn't play until his second season. But for the most part, if you draft a quarterback in the first round, that guy plays not necessarily right away all the time, but he plays in his rookie season, right? You don't draft a guy at that point and not play him, right?
But again, most quarterbacks you're talking about picked at the top of the draft are being picked by teams that obviously had massive quarterback issues, and you know that they're looking to start those guys. In a case of an Aaron Rodgers or a case of, even again, Mahomes was a number 10 pick, but you're right. It's still a good team with a competent starter here. You know, the demarcation line usually seems to be right around the time where you feel like you're out of contention or, and you're like, well, we have nothing to lose. Let's let the kid grow. But the Patriots don't want to do that this year. You don't want to go 1-3 with Cam before you pull the trigger there. You want to put a guy out there who you think gives you the best chance to win. Who do you think at this moment that person is?
It's hard to tell because, and I know this is a cop-out answer, but
it's hard.
Seeing Mac Jones out there against Washington's 2s and 3s and sometimes even 4s there, I think at times in the third quarter, you don't want to overreact to a preseason game where he's playing mostly 90% of the guys he's going up against are backups. So you don't want to sit here and say that he's ready to take the mantle just yet. But I think from a stylistic perspective, I've always said this, and I said it from the day that they drafted him. Mac Jones is a better stylistic fit in the type of offense that Josh McDaniels wants to run than Cam Newton. It's just that simple. It's not saying that Cam is bad. It's not. I don't think that Cam stinks. I think Cam has improved a lot on the margins in training camp this year. But I do think that the offense runs the way that McDaniels wants it to run with Mac. He sees the game the same way. He gets the ball out in a timely fashion. He does everything that you want a quarterback to do within the structure of this offense. And we talk a lot about Brady comparisons, and you can take those or leave those. The guy that I constantly see when I see Mac play out there, a lot of Pennington comps, but I'm going with another quarterback that wore number 10 for the Patriots not too long ago.
Yeah,
he looks a lot like Jimmy to me. He's actually, if you put them side by side based off the measurements, they're about the same size, right? And they both have quick releases. They both throw within 20 yards extremely well. They throw a good touch down the field, but they're definitely known for quick processing, get the football out, accuracy within 20 yards, that type of stuff. And I think that Mac might be a better deep ball thrower when it's all said and done than Jimmy, but I'd see comparing him to Brady is totally unfair, right? So if you're going to try to make a comparison to a viable NFL starter right now, I see a lot of Jimmy G.
Fair enough. And I think that's not a terrible comp. I actually still think there's a 10% chance Jimmy G is on the Patriots before this is all over. Your thoughts on a very limited performance, Cam? And again, first drive stalls out. Obviously, he didn't get a lot of help. Certainly not from Isaiah Wynn, who who I thought might have to look for another job after Chase Young. I actually didn't even, just on that play alone, did it look like did Wynn hear a whistle or something? It looked like he stopped playing.
Yeah, I do think it's really important because I know a lot of Patriots fans on Twitter and even Patriots commenters here in the comments section are talking about how Cam can't see blindside pressure and can't hang on to the football. I mean, Chase Young just made a Chase Young type of play.
He killed him. I didn't understand. Like, it looked like Wynn stopped completely there.
Yeah. It was a punch dip move, right? You get into the guy, you punch him, and then you dip around him and get out around the corner. And Cam, when he kind of set the protection there, he's expecting Isaiah Wynn to block his guy, right? And so there's no
for
fault.
At least a little longer,
right? There's no fault of the quarterback there on that particular play. So I think that's important to mention. I think what we saw from Cam though, in at times was the underneath route to Johnny Smith, for example, where he gave it to Johnny, laid it out for him, and allowed him to catch and run with it. It's not a long throw. It's not a throw it's not a 40-yard bomb or anything like that. But the timing of that play, the fact that he put it on him where he did, I think there were some improvements shown in that little glimpse in that little throw. But the one thing that I see, and when I sit there and I see the bird's eye view of things, is, and look, I think the most important element to mention here is the Patriots offense against Washington's starting defense tonight was minus Nelson Aguilar, who's the deep threat in this offense, right? So at some point in time, Nelson Aguilar will be here, and then it's going to provide that field stretching ability. But the problem that I saw from the bird's eye view is that the way Washington, even in a preseason game where I don't think that they were doing a whole lot of game planning and stuff like that, they were crowding the line of scrimmage when Cam was in the game, right? They had 8, 9, one play I saw they had 10 guys in the box, right? And it was the same. The safety is maybe 10, 12 yards off the line of scrimmage at most. It was the same compacted area that it was last year. And that is a concern to me that I thought that Aguilar would fix. So maybe he still can fix it when he comes back. But that is an element of it that I did see. It's post safety, single high safety. They don't care about N'Keal Harry on the outside, right? They don't care about Jacoby Myers on the outside. If Cam is going to beat them throwing to Jacoby Myers 10 times a game, then the defense is going to say, so be it. Right. What we care about is the run game, stopping the run game, taking that away from the Patriots offense, and basically daring Cam Newton to throw the ball outside the numbers. And they did that here tonight, and he didn't throw it outside the numbers. I thought there were a few opportunities where he had one-on-one with N'Keal Harry and didn't want to throw it there, right? Or just didn't decide to pull the trigger there for whatever reason. But I don't think that we can look anything into what Cam did out here tonight, because I've seen enough out of him in training camp to see real improvements with his timing in the offense, his understanding and grasp of the system. Because of those things have improved, I have seen better accuracy out at practice from Cam because he's making quicker decisions. He's going with the right places with the football. So I base this game, to me, it's a total wash. I don't think that we can learn anything whatsoever from this game.
If you came in feeling it's still Cam, if the general consensus around the quarter, because again, why pretend we're concerned with anything else at this point? That this is the number one story with the team, and until it resolves itself, it's really hard to focus on anything else. But if this is it, you have all of training camp where you've seen what you've seen, and then you have this game. Does the conversation change at all? Does the needle move in any direction off of tonight after tonight?
I've been thinking the needle's been moving in Mac Jones's direction for a couple of weeks now. I guess I should say a week now, right? Okay. Really, once he sort of got over that first padded practice for Mac Jones was not particularly good throwing the football. But then in the second padded practice, third and fourth padded practice, he started to really get a grasp of the speed of contact live football at the NFL level. And I think it just took him maybe a practice to kind of get a feel for it and understand what he was going to be up against. Now that he's really, like I keep on saying, it's not necessarily, I don't think Cam Newton's a bad quarterback. I think Cam Newton can still play in this league. Yeah. I'm not going to say that. I still think that Cam can play. Yeah. I still think that there are moments, especially in practice, that we have seen Cam make some really good plays. He hit an absolute bomb to Christian Wilkerson in practice, padded practice 3 or 4 down the right sideline with Jalen Mills in coverage, perfectly in stride, 50-plus yards on a dime. Throws to Nelson Aguilar down the field. But when he is at his best is when he is a see it, throw it thrower, right? He is not an anticipatory thrower. He's not a timing and rhythm based thrower. He is a see it open, throw it type of passer, and he's more of a vertical passer than he is that horizontal stretch throw it underneath the defense, pick apart by a death of 1,000 paper cuts. That's not going to be Cam Newton's game. And I keep on saying this. If they are going to stick with Cam and they're going to go down the Cam path, they need to adjust the offense to his skill set and to his strengths and really start to hit the intermediate and the deep level of the fields, incorporate the tight ends over the middle, throw deep to Aguilar, throw deep to Harry. Those are going to have to be their offense, because if he is just trying to hit the top of the drop, make a quick decision with it, throw it to a receiver with anticipation, yada, 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 that's just not going to be consistent enough for him.
Okay, finish this sentence on the screen. Mac Jones will have his first start for the Patriots in week
9, 10.
You're
going week 1. So here's
I actually started taking even money bets with my friends on it.
Okay, so here's the two things I'll say, and I know that.
Let me ask you this for real, and I want to hear your thoughts, because I don't know if you think Bill thinks this way, but as I said, I don't know that Mac plays his way into the starting role any more than Cam loses it. And if you create an environment here where that's what's happening, that's not great for anybody, right? That's why I think if it's close, it's Mac, because if that's ultimately where you want to get to, you might as well get there now, because the worst thing you could do is put Cam out there, have him have an 11 for 24 opening week loss, and then immediately, and again, Bill doesn't care about controversy. That's something that it's fan and it's media driven, but that's going to be an issue. You definitely have Cam guys in that locker room versus Mac guys. It's going to be an uncomfortable situation if a guy's just basically you're setting him up to fail, because I don't believe they want Cam Newton to be their starting quarterback all season long. I mean, maybe if he was playing at an elite level, but if he's anywhere close to the guy you saw last year, inevitably I think he's going to fail. He's going to come out of that. If they had Mac Jones last year, Cam Newton would have been benched at some point. There's no question about it. They didn't. They had Stidham, and that's why he stayed in there. So what's your take on it?
So I think that there is a lot of elements to this that we have to keep in mind. And I know that people are going to roll their eyes and say that there's no way Bill thinks like this, but I really do think he does. First of all, week 4 against Tampa is a game that we have to think about.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he wants to see if they put Mac in there because he gives them the best chance to win. That's what we'll hear all week from Bill Belichick. Now, maybe he also thinks if Mac is going to be made of anything in this league, he can't be afraid to go up against Tom Brady in his return to New England, right? He has to be able to rise to that occasion. But to me, week 5 is the earliest that I see that happening, because I don't know
if it's the post-Brady game.
I just don't know if Belichick wants to make it truly Mac versus Brady, because the comparisons for Mac are already going to be extremely lofty. And if you put him in there in that situation, especially if he gives Brady a game or even beats Brady, then the hype is going to be absolutely unreal. The other element that I think is important, and again, I know that this feels ridiculous, but week 8 in November, Cam Newton goes back to Carolina, right? And that's his homecoming and his game back in where it all started, and his version of the Patriots for Tom Brady to a degree. And for a guy that fell on the sword essentially for Bill Belichick last year and has done everything right, has been the leader that they wanted him to be, worked his butt off, is Bill Belichick going to make Cam Newton go back to Carolina as the backup quarterback to a rookie? I don't know. That's part of it I have a tough time with, because a lot of those veterans in the locker room, I think, are going to look at that and say, damn, if Bill will start Mac and put Cam on the bench and make Cam go back to Carolina as a backup quarterback, what would he do to me, right? What would it? I'm chop liver then, right? Those types of things. So I don't know if Mac is going to win this job at a camp or out of the preseason here in week 1. I don't know. We're so far away from that. It does sort of feel like maybe Cam isn't here, because
that's my thought too.
I don't know how they move forward with Cam Newton as a backup quarterback. He's not a backup quarterback.
Again, my crystal ball, based on nothing other than my opinion, is when they decide that Mac's the guy, Cam is given a chance to maybe latch on with somebody else, right, after week 3 of the preseason or something like that. That's how, or they trade for something to some team. Maybe there's an injury. Maybe there's something. I think they want to do right by him. I think dragging him along to back up Mac after all of the things that you said here would not make sense.